I've read several articles that I've seen out on social media, and they are letting no moss grow on their trees. Okay, they are already going 98 miles an hour. They've already, and I'm tempted. I'm sitting here wanting to say the things that I've read, but I'm going to let them tell you, because they're going to know first off. I did see a video. Was that earlier today? I think it was earlier today. A YouTube video of Tiffany. She was thrilled with some budgetary news, and I want that budget person to look over my finances and find out where my money went. Okay, we'll let her share that with you. Okay, ladies, I have this mic and two others. So I don't know whether you intended to speak one at a time, if you wanted all three be up here, but if, however you want to do it, you are now welcome to come up and share with us the good news and the upcoming good news.
Thank you so much. I really, it feels unfair to stand up here and have you guys clap for us, because really, I think I'm chiming you guys in as the new Doge, because this is where the work is done, in this room. That everyone, I recognize so many of the faces that are in this room, and we feel you, we feel your presence, we feel your prayers, we feel the covering over us, and it strengthens us. It gives us so much boldness and courage, and really, we should be clapping and thanking you. So thank you so much. Go ahead, clap for yourself.
I think one of the first, when you say that, one of the first questions or one of the first parts of the topics that you all asked us to speak about tonight was the part about how can you replicate this in another local district, or how this can be done in other districts across the state. Do you all want to address that? I mean, it's really, to be very honest, I mean, my notes were, it comes from y'all.
I was going to say, replicate this room.
So it's not just this room, but it is a lot of this room. My whole thing on it is that, you have to have candidates, no doubt. And they don't have to have known each other before. Working with a slate does make it a lot easier, but candidates are important, but more importantly, the victory was a long-term goal of us taking back the community, taking back public education in Conroe ISD. And that came because multiple political organizations, although there's a lot of crossover in them, but multiple political organizations and multiple politically minded people joined together and became a lot more organized in the effort. And instead of crossing over and covering same territories, instead of crossing over and trying to do the same work, for the first time, we all became engaged as a unit and a team. And that included our precinct chairs. Our precinct chairs made that happen. And a precinct and all our politically minded people working together. And what that did was you engaged and activated non-politically engaged people to get involved. A number of people that have never worked in any campaign ever, never hosted meet and greets, never came out to meet and greets. You name it, it was a long game. And in 22, when we were elected, there were 3 of us and we were a minority. So we knew going in, we were in the lion's den. But from there, the 24 was our long game. And we got a practice run with us. But we knew the real effort was going to come in 24. They underestimated us.
They did. And I just heard somebody, just to touch on that, I was at another event prior to this, and they came up to me and said, you 3 were the dividers, those 4 are the conquerors. So together, right? And I just love that so much, because we came in, we kind of disrupted it and moving things around, making this happen, making that imagine? But when the 4 of them came in and the 7 of us united, now together we'll conquer. So I love that when someone told me that earlier. So I just had to share that.
So I will tell you, there are calls and emails coming in pretty much every single. I thought it was loud enough. I'm so loud.
Our video aims.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I will say that the emails and phone calls are coming in every day. They are coming in every day saying, how did you do it? And this is how we did it. People like you. And we have
From
to
all
keep
over.
it. Yes.
Yeah. Other states and
all over. All over. The people are wanting to know, how did you all achieve this? Now, I'm not going to talk about like the political game or the strategies on that, really. I don't know. I don't know that whole part. I just know that what worked and what can happen in any community is to be united and bring it together. It was in our election, it was one of the first times we tried to get together and not, if we had a precinct chair covering an area, we didn't try to cover it with another person. And there was a lot of, maybe Tea Party had someone going, or someone in Eagle Forum had someone going. We were really trying to be more strategic about not covering same areas, not doing the same things, and being dividing and conquering. And so I think that was critical. And then the other thing that was, I think, in 24 became more critical was that, or a very big important part that changed, is our churches began speaking up.
Yeah.
Our pastors, and I will tell you, a lot of them were pushed by the people that were politically minded. They, when I say pushed, they did it where they were informing them, they were educating them, they were empowering them, they were emboldening them. And as soon as a few of those pastors, besides, the Pastor Riggle, etc., as soon as
Pastor Jason.
Pardon?
Pastor Jason.
Well, Pastor Jason and Pastor Riggle have been at it since the beginning.
Yeah.
But I'm saying when Pastor Trent Smith at Conroe Church, right? Conroe Church, he came to a Tea Party meeting after something that happened with his children in a carpool line.
School board meeting. He was the first pastor for us to ever see come to a school board meeting, and not only come, he spoke.
Yes, and he's done it twice. And as soon as he got to know us and began to trust what we were saying and what we were doing, then he started speaking to other pastors. And so they started finding a community in that and strength in that, safety in numbers, strength in numbers, And so that was a very big change in 24, I think, in our electoral process here in the school board. That's my personal opinion. So,
Do you have anything to share, Melissa?
yeah.
Just so many people in this room. I look around and I see Miss Diane Daniels. I shared a personal experience with her. I watched that lady, y'all, for 2 years probably before I ever even considered running for school board. And you were truly an inspiration. You were there, you were speaking on our behalf before we were ever in the picture. And I just want to thank you because you're still coming. And Miss Carolyn Meany and just countless others. It's true that y'all are just such an inspiration to me personally, but to others in our community. I know they're watching, so thank y'all.
Yeah, and also the parking lot game was a lot of the majority of this room was involved in the parking lot, and it is a real skill, that parking lot, the multiple parking lots. We had like an NFL playbook. It was like when there's a line, we're all going to take the positions over here. When there's not a line, we're all going to go over here. And this lady right over here, Miss Pam, foot and all, a broken foot, there it is, stood every single day, and as many of you guys did as well. So all the external factors coming in and just making a gift and a blessing. And we're thankful to all of you and thankful to God to serve, using us as a vessel for His work and His mission here.
One thing I did want to say, Bob, when you mentioned we can't become complacent, it's basically what you were saying. Does anyone, I listen to Dutch Sheets quite a bit, especially the Give 'em 15.
Yeah.
And I fall behind on it, but today I was driving for an hour to go see my dad for lunch. And so I started with that this morning in the car. If you did not listen to today's Give 'em 15, it's fantastic to exactly what we were just talking about. We cannot let up.
Amen.
We cannot become complacent. So I encourage you, even if you don't on a regular basis listen to him, go look it up online or on YouTube and listen to today's, or even read his transcript on it. It's really good about not becoming complacent and the church awakening and the remnant speaking, and our bowls are filling with prayers. And so I just lift that up to you to check into that, because it goes right with what you were speaking about.
And one thing too, that, one thing was getting in there and us three being the disruptors for so many months. It seems like a lifetime, but it's only been 2 years. And despite the headlines and the negative attention that we got, but there were positive things that happened in the past 2 years. There was a lot of impact made. There was a lot of hearts touched. I can't tell you how many people came up to us, me personally in the parking lot, people that work for the district, thanking me behind the scenes, almost shivering and making sure no one could really see them as they were talking to me, but thanking me. And I know that it happened to Tiffany and Misty as well. People inside are with us. They're just scared. And so the more bold that we are, the more they see the community standing up with us. That has made the biggest impact on teachers, administration level folks. We know that they're with us. They're just not vocal about it. So we do have their support. So that's encouraging. I have a lot of hope. I think the disruption was done in the past 2 years by us being on the board. Yes, we were a minority. There was a roadblock after roadblock. But now that we have our new 4 to join us and sit there, what a sigh of relief. And that is because of your support and unwavering support. You've been there. You've been behind us the whole way. So thank you so much for that, and looking forward to great things, because I know there's so much ahead of us.
And one last thing. You guys, people are waking up. They are waking up, and they started to wake up in 2020, 21 with schools and education. And so when we came in, it was like, oh, this is what's going on. Let's see, and now it's like the floodgates have opened. Like, parents are awake. Parents are knowing what's going on. Taxpayers are awake, and they're knowing what's going on. And I mean, there were overwhelming numbers in elections in 2022 and in 2024, non-presidential year. 87,000 people voted in a school board race, which is like ridiculous. That's crazy. And then in this past election, a presidential race, I think we were 150,000, 140,000, which is just the highest numbers they've ever had in a non-presidential and a presidential year. So people are waking up, and I'm just thrilled and honored to be here, be a part of this, and stand here with my friends and my ladies, and hope that we can make you proud. Thanks for giving us a chance.
Did you need us to do something?
I was going to ask if you would say your names and your new officer positions, because that's very exciting.
Okay. Ms. Weller, President of the School Board.
Tiffany Nelson, First Vice President.
Melissa Dungan, Second Vice President.
One of the things I wanted to start with is just to let you all know that we have not established currently board priorities. We all kind of agree and understand, but they've not been publicly put out there and established in policy of any way. So when we're speaking tonight, we're speaking in generalities or for ourselves, but pretty close. We're all in rankings. We're pretty much in the same agreement, but we're not here speaking on behalf of the board tonight. Do you understand that? Okay.
Yes.
And the same thing with our legislative priorities. What was established in the last trustee session isn't what's established now. And so those have not been set forth. So we're just speaking in generalities this evening, just so you know that.
Of course.
Okay. I know you had some notes.
Oh, I did bring, I brought notes. No, one thing I touched on, I said, we've had a lot of just struggles in general, and anything we tried to do, I know that a big emphasis was put on the library books when we first got in. That was a high point, so to speak, for us going in. We walked right into it. There were several walls that we walked into, but we did but we did actually get a library policy revision through. We got that done, and it was done in the first year.
November 23.
3 times. Hallelujah. And it was almost at that point that the others caught on. Like they figured out, oh wow, they pulled a swift one. We finally got that done. And
At first there was no problem with our learning materials, and then I think as time went on, we got our full.
Almost like once they came around to the fact that yes, there did need to be a change made in policy, then they realized, oh, we were ahead of them, we got that done, and for them to turn right around last year on their way out because they knew they were going out.
October.
They brought that back to the table and flipped it right back into the old, a similar version of the old policy. So that's one thing that is a priority on my list, personally speaking, that we're going to have to reverse back to. One thing we did right through the gate was bring back our SHAC, our Student Health Advisory Council. That is key. We have so many great parents that are willing to serve on that and do the hard work. That is hard work. They are protecting our kids. They're knee deep in the curriculum, looking at what these kids are being taught in our health and safety and sex ed curriculums and countless other things that affect their mental and physical health. So the cell phone, that was a big thing. They addressed the cell phone usage on our campuses. We passed guidelines, which we need to make policies. But sex ed opt-in, there's countless things, as I mentioned, that we got done. It was just an uphill battle all the way. So those are things that we're going to be revisiting and making great again, because there's still work to be done. So we made it good, but now we're going great. And this discipline is one thing that I can't say enough about. That is affecting every area of our children's learning. I'm married to an educator. I can't say that enough times because that's what got the fire lit under me, was what I saw happening at the administrative level with discipline, because that's supposed to be his job, but it wasn't being executed. Our kids are not being disciplined. In fact, it's the opposite. They're being rewarded. And so that's one thing that is priority on my list. I know it's a priority for these ladies as well, and the new trustees coming in, so you'll see some action on that front, both locally and legislatively at the state level. That's got to be worked on there. But there's so much. There's so much work to do, but God, we're going to get it done. There's 7 of us. Yes, sir.
When will that list of legislative ideas that y'all are going to propose be forthcoming to the public?
We actually are more focused on looking at our board priorities first. Legislatively, we are very blessed that we have Representative Steve Toad and Senator Brandon Creighton, who Brandon Creighton is the chair of the education for higher and K-12. So that is amazing. And I plan to be supporting them, our biggest and their goals going forward. We also are working with, have worked with Senator Paxton, and she's huge in pub ed. There's Nate Schatzling, there's, who's the other reps?
Brian Harrison.
Middleton, Mays Middleton. I mean, there's so many that I'm just waiting for theirs to come out to see what they've got, because we're not writing or carrying these policies. Right. So the truth of the matter is our focus needs to be local and support when they need us there. They know we've made it clear to them. We're working with other trustees across the state already, just so you know. I've spoken with Dripping Springs, I've spoken with Fort Bend, we've spoken with Katy and Spring Branch, Cy-Fair, Colleyville, Grapevine, Keller, Carol, I mean, I'm telling you, we are not just, it's not just us anymore.
Wow.
We are on the precipice, not to get off that, but we are on the precipice of incredible change in public education right now. And we intend, Marianne Horton, Trustee Horton, has been working on discipline with a coalition working on discipline of other, including superintendents and trustees.
Wow.
So that was before she was elected.
She's a former teacher, so
Yes.
she has that educator mindset. She knows the problems.
So we're going to trust that.
One of the other things that we ran off of and we're continuing to piggyback off of is curriculum and learning outcomes. Is he here tonight, Dr. Alex Harris? About a year and a half ago or so, we had a book come to a level 3 hearing. It was our biology book, and the portion that said the origin of the universe, he stated that teaching the Big Bang Theory does not belong in science, it belongs in history because it's the study of atheism. It came to a board for a level 3 hearing. We went and had an opportunity to think about what we were going to vote on this, and my question was, I don't think we can do that without the TEKS because we have to align with the TEKS, but what we could do is add intelligent design to compare and contrast to the Big Bang Theory, but it didn't pass. It didn't pass, and this was about a year and a half ago. And my background, I'm married to a pastor, I have a master's in Christian ministry. I know a little bit about creationism and secular humanism, and I just thought, well, with the passing of Coach Kennedy and the Supreme Court cases, yes, exactly, reached out to an SBOE member and said, what can we do? Because I knew that they were going to be revising the SBOE proclamation. And so we talked about it, and she said, I love that. And after working for almost probably a year, or maybe even a little more than a year, back and forth to Austin to watch their committee and be a part of it, we showed up and prayed with them. Last November, they passed a new proclamation that removed priming and evolution, any anti-American language, and adding intelligent design to compare and contrast to the Big Bang Theory. So not only did all of Conroe ISD get to have critical thinking is really what it's about. So they got intelligent design to compare and contrast to the Big Bang Theory, but all of the state of Texas. So these are things that we can do, that we have the power to do. And so with the curriculum coming up, it takes work. I mean, I'm just being honest. I was a science person when I was in maybe 8th grade. I did win a science fair project here or there, just getting that out there. So I guess there's a part that enjoys it, but I really don't enjoy reading 8th grade curriculum biology textbooks. It's not a hobby of mine, but it's our job. We're raising our hand. We're raising our hand to approve curriculum for our entire 74,000 student body to be learning from, and this is our job. This is our job to raise our hand and vote for what we want and what we don't want. So the night before we were voting for that, I'm reading through the book and making notes, and then I'm seeing that all this work that I had done at the State Board of Education to get intelligent design in was not included in the textbook that we were about to pass. So then at like 8 p.m. or something, I'm on the phone with the publishers, who's on the phone. I mean, this is how much work and how entailed it really is. And if you don't pay attention, then this stuff will just happen. And I'm not saying that it's malicious or that it's not, but it'll happen. And that's exactly how. Yes, and that's exactly how. So I'm on the phone with the publishers, and then we've got our curriculum head on the phone with the other publishers, and the TEA got involved. And long story short, needless to say, at 4 p.m. that night before our 6 p.m. meeting, they wrote us a letter that said, we promise, you have our word, that we will include intelligent design into the curriculum in this textbook if you approve it. And so we had it in writing, and it got approved. But this is the work that we do, and this is the work that we'll continue to do. And we've got a bunch of other things coming up with some new curriculum, and so we're dedicated to doing the same work and the same research, because that's what this is about. It's about what's getting into the hands of our precious babies as soon as they leave the house, and making sure that it's good quality materials. And so that's what we're about.
So real quickly, I'm just going to go through a list of things that I think we've all brainstormed or that we pretty much, all 7 of us, I can't speak for them, but I'm pretty sure these are all priorities for them. Strong educational goals to be set, outcome goals to be set for our district. Student-based budgeting. It starts in the classroom. What does the student have to have for a quality education? Then there's the teacher. What does the teacher have to have for a quality classroom education? And then build our budget from that way out. They said the other day that we do zero-based budgeting, but then they came back and said, but we have this formula where we plug in. And that to me is still going back to the other way to budget. And so we really need to, we as a board need to make sure we pay attention. So safe and quality working and learning environments, which have to do with discipline as well. Board-driven independent fiscal audit. We want to have an audit that's driven by the board, by an independent person outside. Amen. That's just the beginning. Board-driven curriculum and instruction audit. Board-driven strategical education plan. This has not been done since the 90s.
Wow.
Conroe ISD has not had one done since the 90s.
I believe it was 95.
Board-driven independent reviewer of the district's operations. We want an independent, board-driven, not someone that works from the district, with the district. No, someone that reports to us, working that way. And I personally, I'm just going to say it right now out loud, I personally want to overhaul our curriculum and instruction for reading curriculum. That is a priority for me personally. It was when I ran, and it remains one of my #1 priorities, which I know will make an impact on our literacy rates. It will raise all our scores. It will, forgetting that, it's the one thing we're tasked to do, to teach children how to read.
That's right. And also, the state has numbers of averages that they come out with where children are reading at third grade and all of that. I will note that Conroe ISD is always above the state averages. However, the state averages are unacceptable. And just
42nd in the country.
that's right. So it's important that we get those up, and whatever it is. I know that there's been a lot of issues with the different ways of learning and phonics and 3Qing and all of those things. So we're blessed with a board that has a unique skill set, and everyone comes with something different and unique, and so together it makes for a really powerful team.
I'm just going to say that one of the things that, in a skill set, that Trustee Dungan has is such, I don't know that I should be even saying this, but she has a BS meter. And she is notorious for going, we'll leave from hearing something and she'll go, nope, nope, nope. I mean, she's got it. And every single time, whether it's articulated in a meeting or not,
Thank y'all for humoring me. These ladies have humored me.
She's
for
dead
years,
on.
So thank you. But they come around usually a couple of days later.
So, sometimes it is.
It just takes a minute.
That the part that you were referring to about the found money, the miscalculation in our school funding, do you all know what he's referring to?
Dale shared my video. I don't know if you happen to see it.
I haven't seen it. So anyway, the bottom line is that Karen Garza, the Chief Financial Officer for Conroe ISD, went to the controllers, Tammy McCray, and said 2 years ago, or a year ago, after they did the compression and the $100,000 for seniors over 65 and all this stuff, we were supposed to be, as a school district, held harmless. It wasn't supposed to affect our funding, and yet...
For Homestead.
For Homestead, sorry. Thank you. But for some reason, Ms. Garza, kept calculating and saying, I don't think this is being calculated properly. And she went to Tammy McCray, our county tax assessor, and she's like, I'm running it the way it's saying. I'm using the software that's been plugged in with the formula, and she says, it's coming out the same way that we're telling you. And so we walked away with less money. Then this year it happened again for 24. And Karen Garza says again, I know something is wrong here. And so she went to Tammy McRae again, and Tammy McRae goes, oh, after running it up the line, they find there is a mistake.
To the comptrollers.
To the comptroller's office. But I found out yesterday that it's TEA that gives the numbers to the comptroller's office at the state level. So I don't know what's going on out there, but Melissa on Tuesday goes, and so we'll just have to wait to see what comes out of this.
But long story short, we are supposed to, so you guys all are aware that we're in a deficit. The number has changed a little bit.
And I would like to say that we're not alone. We have a tiny little deficit. Some of our districts across the state, some of our peer districts are operating at upwards of $70 million deficit. So our little tiny,
We're 2%.
we're a small deficit, yet our CFO caught this issue. So this is happening across the state. Over 100 have reported already. Over 100 independent school districts have come and reported, and we're standing by. We're going to sit back and wait and see what happens. But there's more to come on this. So this is just an introduction, but there are millions owed back to our district.
Long story short, that they're saying, they're estimating approximately minimum $7 million will come back to the district, but we're back paying. Because it's a 3-year, it's pending an audit, so.
These 3-year audits we just found out about this week. We learned that there is a 3-year audit period that everyone's aware of, except we weren't. So more to come on that. We're gonna wait and see what happens. But originally presented to us was roughly 9 to 20 million overall 1 to 2 year period. In the 3-year audit, information came.
I think
to us,
it's
so.
10 million and then 7.5 for each of the 3 years. But
Approximately.
approximately. That's all. And it's because it hasn't been
But
finalized.
stay tuned, because I've worked in legislation for a long time with oil and gas, and it's really, really rare that legislative terms are not are misinterpreted, and that's what was told to us, that it was misinterpreted by such and such and so and so and so. And once we figure out who's such and such and so and so that misinterpreted this, maybe we'll get answers. But long story short, yes, we are owed millions of dollars.
Yes, but the crazy part is that as a trustee, having a deficit that took place before we came in doesn't sit well. You know, it kind of, for me, it even affects my sleep. So you don't want to go there, right, baby? Yes. So having these numbers, whether it comes from this person or that person, to come out at the dais at a public meeting and state that we're going to be receiving a minimum of $7 million for the first year and then back pay for the rest, you have to take that as actual numbers. So I'm grateful for the decrease in deficit.
Yes.
And I slept really well knowing it was probably going to be more.
Yes, right? Good.
So on that, when we're talking about money and legislative priorities, etc., one of the things that we've discussed as a group is that we have not had a basic allotment increase in funding for educating a child since 2019. Now, what basic allotment means is that a basic allotment is what the basic allotment the state gives us per student for just every single student that attends school. And that's based on an ADA attendance and so on and so forth. We haven't had an increase since 2019, and I know every person in this room is still paying the same price for everything that they did in 2019, right? Right? Now we have had a 40. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've had additional allotment. So the basic allotment is approximately $6,100 per student. That's for just a regular student, no special needs, no gifted and talented, no English as a second language. So there's additional allotments that you can get per student as well. But those allotments have increased.
Yes,
but the
by
basic
40+%.
has not. And so that makes for, I don't mean to cut you off, but that makes for a very difficult funding because of inflation and all that. We also we have allotments for teachers that we're getting increases on those as well.
I
So
think it's important that aside from the basic allotment, it is important for everyone to understand that those additional allotments come with strings. So it's tied to something. So you might get more money, but you are already spending that money. That money is meant to be spent. It's not increasing your basic, your basic allotment that you can do what you want with. So anything that's tied to something has to go to
weighted funds.
that code or that area. So they don't make it easy. As far as increasing that basic allotment, it hasn't been done since 2019, and it costs more basically.
And so that is a priority for all of us. We haven't penned it into a priority list legislatively, but we all understand that while we're thankful we've had a 40+% increase in weighted allotments, we haven't had anything. I mean, it still costs more to open those doors, bus those kids, etc.
especially for the special ed kids, because that number is astronomically going up, and we're only getting so much money and so much funding for the special ed kids as that community of children continues to rise.
So do you understand when you keep hearing people complain or comment that our special education program is exploding? The reason that's happening is because they're being required to identify them now. It's not that this is new, well, twofold. It isn't that it's new. It's that now, because of the dyslexia bill that got passed in the last legislative session and the work that was done before, districts across the state are having their feet held to the fire on identifying these students and testing them and following and informing parents, etc. So theoretically, when it comes to dyslexic students, approximately 20% of your students are going to be dyslexic, approximately, statistically speaking. But do you know that if you use a sound, scientifically proven, structured literacy program to teach them to read, we can teach 90% of them to read. 90% of all of our students to read with just a good sound reading program and no special ed services. So that frees up a lot of money for those 10% that need special ed services.
I think it does go without saying there is an influx of learners that are not reading because of, yes, there is special ed applied issue, but what has happened, a lot of people aren't talking about the COVID years anymore, and I like to bring that up just because I think it's worthy of some recognition. We have 3rd, 4th, 5th graders right now that, in addition to the numbers that weren't reading on grade level years ago, we've increased that number because of what happened in their kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, exactly. They weren't seeing words, they weren't hearing words the way that they maybe should have. So there's a lot to be said about what we did those 2 to 3 years of COVID learning that has crippled us as a district and as a society. Yes, the special ed numbers are increasing. I think a lot of that is folded into the numbers because of the choices that were made. So we've got a lot of repairing to do, and it costs money.
Another aspect of budgeting that has gone down is our average daily attendance. And I don't really like calling that budgeting in part of our finance because it's more than just dollars. But the way it works is you get paid, the district get paid every day your child shows up to school. And so if this year we're at 92%, which is really low. In the past it's been 96 or so. And the
94,
difference in 1% is $5 million.
$5 million.
It's $5 million that the district will get if we can get those numbers up by 1%. I don't like calling it numbers, and I don't like calling it dollars. It's students, it's children, it's days that students are missing days of education and learning. And that's the most important thing about getting kids in school. And we're over 40% economically disadvantaged in our district. And so kids are coming to school for different reasons, but kids need to be in school. They need to have their butts in seats for the best learning outcomes. And to have numbers that are continuing to stay in the 92 percentile is pretty low. And so really that's a goal for us as well, is to get those numbers up. Not only for the funding, but I think that will all tie into learning outcomes and higher test grades and higher test scores, and really all around just having functioning adults graduating from high school. And that's really a goal for us.
Self-esteem. Bring up the self-esteem.
I have a question in regards to the test
My answer to you on that is that if we are teaching the TEKS, we don't have to teach to a test. Because if we teach what is mandated by the TEKS, curriculum-wise, in a strong, aligned curriculum that aligns with the TEKS, they should be able to sit down and take that test.
Right.
And this is something Misty mentioned earlier, that we are looking into a full-scale external audit of our curriculum, because right now, we don't know. We're going into this blind. We don't know where the gaps are in our current curriculum, what our kids are receiving in the classroom, and that's something that hasn't been done since the 90s to determine, okay, from an outside perspective, where are we shortchanging our kids? Where are they falling short as far as the curriculum goes?
Yes, have you all taken into account the numbers related to homeschooling with respect to the drop in ADA, and how does that affect the overall budget plan for the district?
Homeschoolers aren't receiving funding at Conroe ISD unless they're doing virtual school, and if in that case, then we are receiving funding. Is that what your question is?
Yeah, in other words, you had said that we're down at 92%. Does that 92% involve any of those that are being homeschooled, or is that
No, sir.
just those that are
Those are
supposed to be?
You have to be enrolled in the district to receive funding and be counted as the average daily attendance. I mean, we do have a virtual school, which is K through 8. And but they are home, so they're doing virtual school, but they're enrolled in the district.
And they have to show up in their class time with their teacher, and we still get funded for them. Sorry, go ahead.
So excited that you guys are on the board. So I work at the community college, and I proctor the TSIA exam. And I can tell you, math is a problem. I had a young lady take it for the 10th time to try to pass it. And we have tutors available on the campus, and I know that I'll be able to tell in a few years the work y'all have done, because I'll see it on my end. I work giving out that test.
Yeah.
I asked the SBOE, we have a couple that we communicate with regularly. Unfortunately, it's not my SBOE rag where I live in the district.
Yeah.
But one of them does service or cover part of our district. But this is really sad to tell you. I'm just going to be very honest with you. There's not one mathematical curriculum out there that is structured mathematical teaching that does not include the new math. There's not one. That is why our children, that and reading literacy. In math and science right now, there's a tremendous amount of reading in both of them that is causing also the deficit in mathematics and science. But back to the whole basic just literacy of mathematics, there's not one good curriculum that does not include new math. I call it new age math, but it's referred to as new math.
I can attest to it. I have a 4th and 2nd grader, and they're doing new math.
And I'm going to just tell you, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on right now. I think that's intentional because it's another way to separate and divide the child from the parent, and no interaction and ability to be able to educate, enforce, interact, teach their children in the home what they are, to enforce, to help reinforce when they need help or whatever. The parents are sitting there going, what is this?
My boys are learning to carry the one.
What do you mean when you say new math?
Lines and dots and circles and
Line, yeah.
I can speak for 2nd grade particularly because this was an issue on Monday. So just in short, it's a new way of doing math. You draw lines and dots to represent your 10s and your 1s, and you have to circle all your 1s and make a 10, and then it's insane.
No memorizations of mathematical facts. The point behind it is a lot of numeration. They're saying our children need to understand the numeration of what all this means. Okay, but what they really need to know is, and
What's their
they
time
need to
frame?
know their
Exactly.
facts. And some aren't going to have to be this fast,
Exactly.
but do they know They're facts. And
That's
that's
7 plus 5. They need to know that.
Yeah, education as a whole is, in my opinion, has taken a decline over the past 150 years or so. I remember seeing the New England Primer just recently, and the very first thing that kids taught back in the day was the Lord's Prayer in Latin and English, and they memorized it. That was part of their curriculum. And here we are standing here today where we've got students in the 3rd grade that aren't reading at grade level, and we've got
they
students.
couldn't read the Lord's Prayer.
That's right, let alone in Latin. So we've really got to make a difference and get in there and get our hands dirty and
Bring
try
back
to
high
increase
standards.
levels. Yes.
High standards again.
Absolutely.
Sir?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for doing what you've done. The late Don Wildman said all he asks is of you to be faithful. And you all have been faithful. You told the line, and we really appreciate that. We're happy that you have some more conservatives. I just want y'all to, I like the idea of fiscal conservativeness, okay? Many people in here were around in the recession of the late 70s and 80s. Interest rates went over 20% for a house, okay? We may see that day again. So remember us poor taxpayers, okay? I know the building's got to be nice and big and new, and I see a bunch of buildings getting knocked down at Conroe High. But, you know, kids, they're students. They're not going there for some kind of experience, right? And I think sometimes, now y'all were getting it good as far as this whole left-wing agenda. Okay, kids, let's get off this transgender thing. Let's get in here and go to school. And that's great. But don't spoil the kids, okay? And by that I mean, yes, keep the school solid, but don't make it a resort, as you know. And remember, because we're paying for it, okay? So I just appreciate it, and I wish you the best.
Thank you very much.
Great input.
There are, just so you know though, there are standards that we have to meet when building schools. Rooms have to be a certain size, the halls have to be a certain size, cafeterias have to be a certain size.
They have to include certain things.
But those standards, again, have changed over the course of the past 50 years.
And so have construction prices. So.
Yeah, and that's another thing I'm looking into, because we're getting really beat up with our prices we're paying for our buildings. We've more than doubled the cost of building a high school in 7 years, and I just have a real issue with that. Yes, steel has increased in price, and concrete costs a little more, and dirt and all the things, and labor. Yeah, and third and fourth, yes.
These contractors, they'll talk to your ear.
Well, and they'll tell you, going back to that same point, oh, they have to meet these standards in order to do the work. And of course, we all know, just like in oil and gas, if you increase the safety standards, it's going to cost more for your company to do work for a different company. But we've got to find out where those standards are being adjusted, and we've got to get in on that game too, because we can't just keep building to the standards or accommodating these standards when these standards may not make sense.
And just to let you know that since we've been elected, the board heard more about construction than they ever did before, because we started asking questions. And one of the things I did was I have literally met with 3 different construction companies, none of them will go on record, that build for schools. And I have learned the difference between a CSP and a CM at risk. I've learned the difference. CSP, competitive sealed proposal. CM at risk, construction management at risk. Conroe ISD bids their projects construction manager at risk. We hire a construction manager and we're at risk. But they do that, and they package it as, but it lets us open buildings quicker in this fast growth that we're doing, because we've got such a great working relationship with our designers and with our architects and with our construction managers that we can start the work before we ever really have the whole plan done. But we have a top line, we're not paying any more than this. But we always get up to this. And I have been pushing, they've heard me say that where Melissa has her deal, I have mine. I'm like, CSP, CSP, CSP. And I will tell you that the last elementary in this bond that we're building they're finally doing it CSP.
Amen.
But that's after they've already built like however many, 4 or 5
So now they're gonna just match the cost to what they've already spent to
but
build
see,
others.
the whole bottom line is that in answer to your question, Dr. Knoll had to learn what CSP was and CM at risk was difference because he needed to be very well versed in it, not just going from what he was being told. So that's a positive. These are all positives. It's just you don't, what is it? You don't turn a tugboat like you can a speedboat. So it's just going to take time.
Sir?
Yeah, just to drop a suggestion when we're reviewing the curriculum, something I learned many, many years ago. I can replace those lines, circles, and dots with a Soran or an abacus, complete the assignment in an hour, and the kids enjoy doing it. And it replaces all of that, the lines, the circles, and the dots.
Wonderful.
And that comment was from a degree educator.
Yes, I know. I've worked with them.
Yes, sir.
There's a gentleman right there. Oh, sorry, Ms. Orbaugh. There you go.
I appreciate all of you. I look at you and I see you with forethoughts. I see you with common sense. I see you attacking every aspect. And I was a math teacher for 38 years, and I'll tell you the math is really, really bad. And I agree with you 100%. They need to know their facts. They can't do algebra without knowing their facts. They can't move on without knowing their facts. And I just want to thank you. I mean, just thank you, thank you, thank you.
If you're at 60%, and that's being generous in some situations, of meeting your understanding or approaching, but let's just say meeting your mathematical needs of knowledge before you go on to the next grade, you're trying to build the next grade's level of information on top of only a 60. It's collapsing.
Back
It's
in my
collapsing.
day, a 60 wasn't passing.
And I said that in a meeting, and you should have seen heads go.
And the interesting thing about the STAR scores is that's not a fixed number. So when you have what percentage of whether it's 52% or so is what meets the needs, that number is a moving number every year, and they adjust it after they've received the scores.
And I've yet to figure out how to hit a moving target. So
Right?
hit a
So
moving
each
target.
year it continues to go down because the average scores are going down, which is unheard of. Like that is keeper levels. We all need something to attain, a goal. We all need something to shoot for. If it's adjusted every year, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yes, sir?
What process is involved with raising money to build new schools? And what would you suggest that we should do to change that?
That's a bond process. You have to put out that you're going to, you put it together, a whole bond package and plan, and you bring a committee together, and we just did this 2 years ago. And so it is a whole process of deciding what are our needs, what are our priorities, what are our needs and desires, and then you get to work and you start cutting from there.
But it also comes with good budgeting too, and not spending money that you don't have.
That's key right there.
I will tell you, one of the things legislatively, back to the legislature question, that we need to address is, and this is a good thing, but it also is a bad thing. One of the things that has come is safer campuses. Great. We're all in favor of having safer campuses. But that came with building fences, different, like height. We were given choices on what kinds of fences we could build. But if you built this kind of fence, it had to be 8 feet tall or 6 feet tall, or it
We
had
had
to
a
be 4
safety
feet tall.
allotment.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we got safety money for this, but we had to decide what kind of fences and what they would be, and they went around our campuses. Okay, that's great. I love that. Anything to make them safer. But it didn't come with any funding or allotments for maintenance. So we have had, I asked for some stats. We have had Hurricane Beryl, approximately $2.5 million. $2.5 million and $375,000 in costs related to fencing. We had fences go down, trees go down on those fences blown down, damage across the way. There were no funds for that. That had to come out of our M&O or out of our fund balance, which is our savings account. And when you look at that, and we haven't had an increase since 2019, that makes an impact on what monies we have and how we end up in a deficit budget as well, because we're falling behind. And one of the other things that I wanted, and there's a 2% deductible on every incident on every building. So we may have 71 campuses now, and every single one of them has to hit the 2% damage on that building before we can file that we're responsible for. And none of them hit it.
But that's one thing too, we need to be mindful, and this is what the first thing pops in my mind is the cost of that building, as you mentioned. The more we raise the price of the cost of what that building is worth, the harder it is to hit that 2% deductible.
Which is exactly one of the things. So then I asked about our insurance premiums. Our insurance premiums, okay, do we sound like we're informed? Do we sound like we're asking questions? Because we're just empty heads, according to the opposition. So, I mean, we really have learned. I was not going to say that.
You girls knocked it out of the park Tuesday night. I was very impressed with all the questions.
So I just thank you very much. But one of the things I'll tell you is that in 21-22, our total premium was $2,768,000. In the following year, we had a 9% increase. In 23-24, are you ready for this? Our insurance premiums went up 43%.
Oh.
And that's with a 2%. It's a deductible. And a portion of that was due to what she was just saying, to the insured value increase of 37%.
Oh, goodness. Raise the
37%. Are we too close to each other with these mics? Anyway, increase due to the insured value of our buildings, because our buildings are becoming more expensive.
That's right. I think we have time for one more or two more questions.
The last
right
thing
here.
I'll tell you is we had another 3% this last year, just to tell you.
Four questions, and then we'll wrap it up.
This has got to change things a little bit. We need to bring the costs down on running the schools. And last thing I saw was 1-to-1 for administrators to teachers. That's not something the state legislature takes care of. That's something that the board takes care of.
Yes, sir.
And
So
that's why
are y'all looking into that?
That's why we need an independent audit of our operational process in our district and how we operate, what we're spending our money on, where it's going, how effective we're using it. The same thing that was done with Continental Airlines when they brought in Brenneman. We've got to do the same thing. We have to look at it because it's time. We're long past due. It's got to be done.
And a lot of that, I just want to say, a lot of that was driven up in recent years. So I've actually watched that happen right before our eyes. So we can fix that.
Over here.
I have a question in regards to the people who are constructing the schools. Do they hold certificates of insurance to verify that their building is going to hold up? What is the stipulation set forth for the people who are paying all this stuff? How are the citizens of the Conroe ISD protected with these arrangements that are contractual agreements? And do any of these contractual agreements, do they have an end date? Do they have a beginning end date? Is there an evergreen contract? Thanks.
I can tell you, all the companies that we use, there's an evaluation process. They have to have been in business for so many years. They have to have, there's a whole evaluation process. My brother has a demolition company in Ohio, and he demolishes schools all the time. They're fully bonded, fully insured. There's never an issue. Our department does work very hard. I'm not crazy about the evaluation process that they're using, but they're fully vetting, particularly the construction companies. When it comes to educational resources, they could use a little help in the evaluation process, but the evaluation process is pretty solid. I think there are some ways that we can get more creative, more competitive, that would make for better pricing, but that's something that we're definitely looking into.
But they do have to carry those different, they have end dates, they have all of those things that you were mentioning, they have to carry those.
And they're completely certified, yes, to do the work.
When a high school is upwards of $500 million, how much is a high school?
Oh,
No, they're around 350.
$350 million. We're working
It's
with
40%, it's I can't remember what the increase is over, I think it's twice as expensive.
Grand Oaks was 157 million at completion, and right now we're estimating that our new Timber Mill High School is going to be around 300 and
Almost 4 million, somewhere.
350. So yeah.
And that, it is 40% larger.
No.
It is.
I think the capacity is only like 400. It's less than 500.
But they're building it 40% larger.
But because
with
of
the increase
standards.
of cost too. Yeah.
The elementary school I attended was built 100 years ago and it's still in use.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
One question here.
Several years ago, the legislature passed the 2.5% cap. So how are you guys bumping up against that now?
Cap on, 2.5% cap on.
On increasing property taxes per year?
We don't have the ability to do anything with your property tax.
Well, no.
But we do set the tax for our, like what our rate is.
The tax rate.
And that's based on, I mean, the property values are set by the county.
She means the property values.
Correct. Yeah.
How are you handling that?
We can't go above it.
You can't go to approval, but you reach a point where, I guess I'm looking for the comment. Is it you're meeting it with ease?
We're well under. Actually, the previous boards before us have been very made a lot of effort to keep that tax rate low. So they don't have, I believe it's we can get up to 1.08, but we stayed under 95. So
Yeah, we were still able to drop it 2 cents because of the max compression rate. Even with the passage of the bond, we were still able to keep it down 2 cents. So, I mean, property values, we can't do a whole lot about that, but the tax rate.
But that's the beauty of them keeping it so low. They've always been able to say we've kept the tax rate lower. We lowered the tax rate by a cent, 2 cents. Whatever
property
but your
values
property value may have gone up $110,000.
Which goes back, and I'm going to come to Betty for us to wrap up, but what goes back to the meeting on Tuesday night, we're starting to do workshops on the first Tuesday of each month, where we are able to sit there and talk things out. And yes, it went for 4 hours, but our Tuesday meeting for the board meeting is where we'll take care of actual action business, and it'll help us be more productive and more transparent and more valuable for y'all. But one of the things that came up from there was that, oh goodness, we were just talking about the capping. Oh, Trustee Johnson mentioned, wait a minute, we keep showing our tax rate is way down here, way low compared to all the districts around us, okay? But she pointed out, but our property values are much higher than theirs. And the response was, but we don't get funded anymore. But the whole bottom line is they keep showing us our tax rate against everyone else as a tax rate. They're not taking what their property average value is with their tax rate and our property value average with the tax rate to compare. And that's where the rubber meets the road. It's really a lot closer, and what are we doing with those funds? So,
Miss Betty.
Yeah, I've had a question the whole time.
And we'll wrap up with her.
She's been so patient.
I'd like to make a statement really quickly. Half of my education approximately was in portable buildings. And I'm a baby boomer, and I got a great education. Cunningham Elementary, Jane Long Junior High, Bel Air High School.
Very nice.
And we had a boatload of National Merit Scholars. It doesn't take a brick building in order to get a good education. It takes great teachers, and our teachers are not paid enough. We have too many administrative staff members. Anyway, and too many expensive buildings. So, thank you for what you're wanting to accomplish, but this is my question for you. I want to say, one of the things that Misty said is that reading is so very important. True, because none of the other classes, what else can you learn if you can't read? You can't get anything else. So reading is the foundation. So I want to know, okay, you women are very well qualified, and we just elected some more like you. You've done a whole lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears to even get elected. And I want to know if you're making $150,000 a year.
That's your question?
Well, everyone show her. You ready? Show her how much we're making.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Merry Christmas. God bless you.